In the headlines, 133 million Nigerians are poor, according to Poverty Index released by National Bureau of Statistics. Soldier kills aid worker, injures United Nations helicopter pilot in Borno State. Nigerian president's wife woos voters for All Progressive Congress in Kwara State. And United Nations chief calls for an end to blame game amid deadlocked climate talks. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I'm Zainab Bala. Hello and warm welcome. 133 million Nigerians are poor, according to National Bureau of Statistics. Now, in its 2022 Multidimensional Poverty Index survey released in Abuja on Thursday, the NBS said the figure represents 63% of the nation's population. Chamun Dabeng reports.
The World Bank had earlier revealed that 90 million Nigerians were living in abject poverty. However, with the current instability of the naira, high rate of insecurity, severe floods and the continuous upward trend in inflationary pressures, it has become imperative to revisit the World Bank figures. United Nations resident and humanitarian coordinator in Nigeria, Matthias Shimale, reveals the results of the survey carried out.
According to this year's MPI, 63% of people, 133 million Nigerians, are multidimensionally poor, i.e., being deprived in more than one dimension of the four measured. Multidimensional poverty is higher in rural areas, where 72% of people are poor, compared to urban areas, where it's 42%.
The MPI report revealed that the national MPI is 0.257, indicating that poor people in Nigeria experience just over 1/4 of all possible deprivations. 65% of the poor live in the north, while 35% live in the south. Poverty levels across states vary significantly, with the incidence of multidimensional poverty ranging from a low of 27% in Ondo to a high of 91% in Sokoto. Despite several funding programs and alleviation schemes developed by the government, it seems that the country's SDG target of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty by 2030 will take longer than expected. Nigerians react to the new development.
Well, it's so pathetic to mention that the level we find ourselves in this country, it's not something to write home about. Of course, the poverty rate will keep increasing, no matter the statistic. The reality shows that Nigerians are poor. Based on the current situation of the country, the nation is down. The government are not doing anything to help the citizenry of the country. You could see from the insecurity, food scarcity. In fact, all their policies have failed. And that is why Nigerians are really hungry right now.
Yeah, I think without a doubt, it has been commonly reported that Nigeria is even the poverty capital of the world. And it is obvious. If you go around, you see the level of poverty that is ravaging the country. I want to speak from a personal experience. I've been hearing that, people are suffering, and then the level of poverty is so high that some people cannot even feed. One Sunday, I was coming out of my house and I saw a woman picking food from our dustbin in the house. She could not feed herself, she couldn't feed her family. The situation was that bad, to the extent that people are feeding from the dustbin now.
When the dollar was, how much is a dollar now? A dollar is about 700 now. Back when it was like 315 naira or so, it's been said that most Nigerians live below a dollar, which is to say that an average poor man actually doesn't earn up to a dollar. Like his feeding doesn't take up to a dollar. That's all he can get. That's all he's earning. That was when it was 350. Now that it is 700, I don't know. You understand? We are beginning to get 5 naira is beginning to go extinct. 10 naira is beginning to go. You can't really buy anything.
According to Shimale, poverty is a nationwide problem, but its nature is different in different parts of the country. So there is a need to tailor intervention to the deprivation profile of each state. Chamun Dabeng, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Well, now joining us to discuss the Multidimensional Poverty Index survey released by the MBS is Stephen Nwachukwu, an economist and a financial analyst. Hello and welcome to the program.
Thanks again for having me.
Great. Now, I would like to know what is responsible for the rising number of the poor in Nigeria despite a slight growth in Nigeria's GDP.
Well, it's obvious security is one of the major issues because we are talking about food poverty. Nigerians can't afford to feed themselves. That's the core aspect of the poverty index we have. The statistics as released by the National Bureau of Statistics. And I think also that Nigerian Bureau of Statistics is economical with the truth in the sense that the figure should be reading somewhere above 160, 170 million Nigerians who actually has been forced to live under poverty. So the fact remains that insecurity has become one of the major causes of this very poverty, and we have also been declared as the world headquarters of poverty. So insecurity, at every moment you have the villages or farmlands or people being killed and thrown into IDPs. It means that hundreds and thousands of Nigerians has also been taken into the poverty line. So insecurity is one of the major causes of the food poverty we are having in this country. So government needs to tackle this issue of insecurity, the farmer-herder clashes, ransacking and killing and wiping away villages, burning houses, and the rest have actually lead to these very numbers we are seeing. And we also have the issue, they may have in mind that the four cardinal criterions are the health, the education, the food, and what again, and one of them again. So these are the 3 or 4 major cardinals to measure poverty indices or poverty rate in a country. So, and most of these 4, Nigerians are really suffering from it. Nigerians cannot afford to go to schools for education. Nigeria cannot afford to access the medical health care. Nigerians cannot afford to feed themselves. In fact, some Nigerians are skipping meals as we speak. Nigerians are malnourished because some of them can't even find protein in their food. Those that can find food to eat, they are eating like junk foods. They don't have proteins in their food to nourish their body. So these are the multi-dimensional poverty Nigerians are facing as we speak.
Okay. Now, at the moment, would you say our GDP is doing great? And how can we utilize our huge population to our advantage as a country?
Of course, we are growing close to somewhere around 3% region, and it cannot be compared with our growing population. We are having a population growth close also to that same region of 3%, and we need to grow our economy, our GDP above somewhere 7 to 8%. And if we can do that, it will actually help to cut. And more sincerely, government has to be decisive in most of the government policy decisions to tackle this very rate of unemployment or rate of poverty Nigeria has been thrown in. Nigerian government has to be sincere in policy implementation. I'm happy that the key players in the economy are there revealing these statistics through the Ministry of National Budget and National Planning, and I also saw the Chief of Staff to the President there. So they have to go and digest this very data and throw out policies to caution the rising cost of food items and also caution the issue of this very farmer-herders clashes and make sure that Nigeria has at least food to eat in their tables. Government can do it by implementation of mechanized farming system whereby you can have hectares of land mapped out and cultivate most of these very crop items that Nigeria needs as their basic food, the grains. Government has to be sincere and deliberate in doing this. And that's the only way we can manage what we're having. The figures is so alarming and it's so threatening.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Steve, for talking to us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, moving on, the member representing Mangu Bokos Federal Constituency in Plateau State, Solomon Maren, has called on the IGP and other heads of security agencies in the country to put a stop to the spate of incessant killings of unarmed indigents of his constituency. Bulus explained that the ugly and barbaric killings and destruction of properties of the peace-loving and law-abiding people on the 16th of November by suspected herders must be condemned in its entirety. The lawmaker said over 30 persons have lost their lives with over 300,000 hectares of farmlands destroyed by the herders due to deliberate and reckless grazing without caution and recourse to constituted authority. He called on NEMA to urgently send relief materials to victims to ameliorate their plight.
We are disturbed that these attacks are just too many, just within a month. We have buried more than 30 able men and women, including children. Unfortunately, despite the presence of Operation Safe Haven, Sector 5, the attackers appeared more armed than the security agents could either counter, repel, or scare them. We are concerned that the miscreants do have a field day perpetrating evil for hours without any form of provocation or confrontation by the security agents. Worse still, hitherto no single arrest or any deliberate effort has been made to bring those hoodlums to book.
A Nigerian soldier shot and wounded a United Nations helicopter co-pilot on Thursday before going on to kill a humanitarian worker and a fellow soldier at a military base in northeastern Nigeria. The Nigerian Army said in a statement that one of its members shot and injured a helicopter co-pilot from the United Nations Humanitarian Air Service in the northeast, where the military is battling an Islamist insurgency. Army spokesman for the anti-insurgency operation, Samson Nantip Zokom, said the unnamed soldier went on to shoot and kill a worker from one of the organizations providing humanitarian support in the region before turning on a fellow soldier. It was not immediately clear what prompted the attack, but Zokom said investigations were underway. UNHAS provides transport to humanitarian workers who travel to and from Maiduguri City, the capital of Borno State, which is the epicenter of the insurgency. The UNHAS said it had cancelled all helicopter missions to and from the field until further notice. Security operatives comprising the police, vigilantes and hunters have reportedly neutralized 7 bandits in Mariga local government area of Niger State. Daily Trust reports that 2 vigilantes sustained bullet wounds and were taken to Kwantagora General Hospital for medical attention. The Niger State Police Command's Public Relations Officer, Wasiu Abiodun, who confirmed the incident, said the security operatives received intelligence that the bandits who terrorized farmers within Kumbashi district of Mariga local government were sighted moving in Kumbashi town. Abiodun noted that police tactical teams and local vigilante and hunters stationed at Kumbashi town engaged the bandits in a shootout and neutralized 7 of the hoodlums, while others escaped into the forest with gunshot wounds. Wife of the president, Aisha Buhari, has assured Nigerians that the Tinubu-Shettima presidency will consolidate on the achievements recorded by the Buhari administration. She gave the assurance at the flag-off of the APC Women Presidential Campaign in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital. The report.
The choice of Kwara State for the flag-off of the APC Women Presidential Campaign might not be accidental, because the party won all the elective positions in the 2019 general election in the state. Wife of the president, Aisha Buhari led the campaign team to the Capacity Field Metropolitan Square in Ilorin. She recalled the impact of women and youth in the previous victories of APC, promising that they will repeat the feat for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. She assured Nigerians that the Tinubu-Shettima presidency will consolidate and crown the efforts of the Buhari administration.
In 2019, the same feat was repeated. In 2015, the victory was the first of its kind in the history of politics in Nigeria.
The wife of the APC presidential candidate, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, said the hope of better Nigeria is on the horizon. She promised that succor will be brought to the less privileged if elected.
The choice of Kwara was divinely chosen by our lovely mother and grand patron of the women campaign. Why is this so? It is because Kwara State is the land and state of harmony. My sister and I assure you that you can count on us as your partners in progress. Coming to Kwara State further gives me the assurance of a nation that will be more unified, productive, and peaceful.
Governor Abdurrahman Abdurazak and his wife Olufunke promised to deliver the state and indeed the North Central for Asiwaju Tinubu. This was equally re-echoed by the APC National Women Leader, Binta Edu.
Concentrate. We have a candidate in Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We have a super candidate in Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu and its running mate, Senator Kashim Shettima. Together, they will bring the Nigeria of our dreams, building on the wonderful work of our President, President Muhammadu Buhari.
After taking off in Kwara State, the APC Women Presidential Campaign is expected to move to other states of the Federation.
Oh, there you go. Now, People's Democratic Party presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar on Thursday night had a closed-door meeting with former President Goodluck Jonathan. Ifeanyi Okowa, running mate to Atiku, accompanied him to the meeting. Now, details of the meeting were, however, not made available. Recently, the former president had distanced himself from the cause of the G5 governors and other challenges facing the PDP. The G5 governors of the PDP, led by Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike, have pulled out of the party presidential campaign council, demanding removal of national chairman of the party, Iyorchia Ayu, before they can give their support to Atiku Abubakar presidential bid. Now, the meeting with former President Goodluck Jonathan may be seen as part of the efforts of resolving the political impasse. You're watching Trust TV News Update. Coming up. Why Africans do not respect time. Details of this after the break. Do stay.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. My name is Femi Adebayo. This holiday season, StarTimes is taking us to a better level. You can step up your family entertainment with the StarTimes upgrade promo. You recharge 2 months on Nova Bouquet and get upgraded to Basic or Smart Bouquet. Recharge 2 months on Basic or Smart Bouquet, you get upgraded to Classic or Super Bouquet. And if you recharge 2 months on Classic or Super Bouquet, you get 10 days free on your subscription. This upgrade automatically qualifies you for a weekly draw to win 55-inch Smart TV, PA systems, home appliances, and more. These prizes are proudly sponsored by Longreach, Wayon, and Amaz. This promo is from the 15th November to 15th January 2023. Times and conditions apply. On StarTimes, every day is the best day ever. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. StarTimes. Entertain your family.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Trust TV News Update. Our top stories. 133 million Nigerians are poor, according to Poverty Index released by National Bureau of Statistics. Soldier kills aid worker, injures United Nations helicopter pilot in Borno State. Moving on, the House of Representatives Committee on National Security and Intelligence has called on the National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Monguno, to secure Nigeria as the country approaches the forthcoming general elections. Chairman of the committee, Sha'ban Sharada, made the call on Thursday in Abuja during the 2022 budget defense session of the Office of the National Security Advisor. He said the role of the government in assuring the corporate unity of Nigeria and sustainable internal security, especially in recent times, is non-negotiable. The National Security Advisor commended the effort of the Department of State Security, the National Intelligence Agency, and the Defense Intelligence Agency for the timely intelligence reports in the last 5 months, which have greatly helped the country to record successes in the fight against banditry, insecurity and other forms of crime and criminality.
It is hoped that the relationship would be deepened to achieve the objectives of the national security reforms as the 9th House of Representatives is approaching the end of its tenure.
Insecurity that confronts us is not peculiar just to Nigeria, but it's a global thing. And in today's context, we can only overcome this problem when we recognize the importance of intelligence as being the driver, the propellant of all activities in a whole of society approach. It is important that all the problems I present are taken into consideration by this very, very important committee.
The total budget of the intelligence community was reduced from 202.7 billion in 2022 to 195 billion in 2023. Now, according to the committee, this is the result of the economic challenges primarily caused by global economic instability and the COVID-19 pandemic. The Inspector General of Police, Usman Al-Ghali Baba, on Thursday said some state governors are promoting political violence ahead of the 2023 elections. He disclosed this while speaking at a meeting with political parties and other stakeholders at the force headquarters in Abuja. According to the IGP, the police have been receiving reports of some state governors who encourage political thugs and subnational security outfits under their control to disrupt seamless and statutorily guaranteed campaign activities of parties or candidates with whom they hold opposing political views. The police chief said the force was putting in place measures to combat all forms of political violence ahead of the election season.
The last form of political violence relates to the conduct of some state governors who manifest traits of political intolerance, which often inflame political tension. In this regard, we have been receiving reports of some state governors who encourage political talks and subnational security outfits under their control to disrupt seamless and statutorily guaranteed campaign activities of parties or candidates with whom they hold opposition political views. In so doing, they deploy their powers and influences to either prevent the mounting of campaign bills and votes or pull them down after they have been mounted.
We want to commend the Inspector General of Police for bringing all the political leaders and political parties together for this roundtable with the service chiefs and other heads of security agencies. It's a welcome development. It shows that the police is ready to police with engagement with the people. And like what was said here, everything that was said here are the problems that we're going to face in 2023. We raised the issue of clamp down on opposition in some states, the activities of some governors that are overbearing. We raised the activities of also some of the commissioners of police who seems to be siding at the side of the ruling government in different states. We raised the issue of arrest of political opponents in night to election. We raised the issue of use of trump-up charges against political opponents. We raised especially the issue of Weboni, where you have opponents of the incumbent being arrested and charged to magistrate. The police should not be involved in those kind of things.
Now, the term African time has over the years become part of the Nigerian lexicon as a subtle reference to improper time management, or better put, lateness to events. In this report, Noel Samson got the reactions of some Nigerians concerning time management. Take a look.
Time management is a process of planning and exercising conscious control of time spent on specific activities, especially to increase effectiveness, efficiency, and productivity. Over time, Nigerians have been adjudged to be bad time managers, especially in areas of attending events on time. This phenomenon led to the notion of African time for the continent and indeed Nigerian time for the country.
We have seen instances where we appear to events early and the event does not start early. So it has given people the incentive that going to events early is like time wasting. And it's a cultural thing that because even in church, even in religious events, we find that many times people attend events lately.
Events organized by Nigerians start behind time because it's a general attitude. Nigerians do not have respect for time, so both the organizers and the attenders are not conscious of time, so we usually have that deficit in starting on time.
We Nigerians, we believed in African time. Like if I have a flight tomorrow, 8 a.m., I know how to do my things to meet up the flight. But when it comes to program like this, we find it difficult to make it up to the program. Maybe we feel like, well, once I reach there at any time, I'm okay.
Nigerians, however, are not oblivious of the effects of the improper time management on productivity, as well as how to manage the situation.
Time is money. A popular Nigerian even made a hit track on that. So already we know that it affects our time. And if Nigeria's most productive city is Lagos, and people in Lagos spend an average of 6 hours in traffic. So it tells us that we are wasting billions.
Yeah, the impact of African time on productivity is that it hampers the essence of the event.
Discipline for time in Nigeria is something that is not really put in place mainly because there are few consequences. When we arrive at an event late, all we just have to say is sorry. In fact, sometimes people do not even say sorry, they just get along with it.
Lack of penalty or punishment for that behavior. So it won't be overcome if there's no penalty or punishment for that behavior.
Effective time management reduces wastage, helps to avoid friction. Proper managing time includes making to-do lists, allocating time to each item from your to-do list, and then scheduling those tasks on your calendar. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And on the foreign scene, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres says there was no time for finger pointing. Negotiators are deadlocked in talks on establishing a fund to help poorer countries deal with climate disasters as the COP27 climate talks draw to a close. Egyptian negotiators said talks, which are due to end on Friday, are likely to go on overnight as diplomats struggle to reach an agreement. UN chief said there was a breakdown in trust between developed and developing countries. He urged the world to strike an ambitious and credible agreement on financial support for developing countries. The intervention from the UN chief comes as the climate talks teeter on the edge of failure, as poorer countries least responsible for global emissions lock horns with rich polluters over the creation of a loss and damage fund. Protesters held within the conference compound have sought to keep up the pressure on delegates, with small but vocal crowds of demonstrators chanting, "What do we want? Climate justice." And that's it on News Updates. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Zainab Bala. Thank you for watching.